My name is Chris Wyllie, the Game Changer, and it's my mission to help you optimize your brain.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Wyllie, Brain Transformation Specialist, and today I'm going to give you a little lesson on how to protect your brain from the #1 sleep buster that's causing you anxiety, that's making you stressed, that's depleting your energy, depleting your hormones. I'm going to teach you the exact, simple, step-by-step recipe to protect your brain. And what is this big brain buster? What is this big nemesis that's causing you to stay up at night, that's giving you anxiety, that's draining your neurochemistry, draining those precious dopamine levels? It's high-level man-made EMF. Now here's the thing with high-level man-made EMF is what it does is it activates calcium-gated voltage channels in your brain. And where are those calcium voltage-gated channels concentrated in your brain? In your cerebellum, in the hindbrain. And what happens is with your brain constantly bombarded with high-level EMF, is it causes those centers like the cerebellum to be chronically hyperactivated and creates a phenomenon called EXCITO-TOXICITY that leads to a whole gamut of nasty brain issues like anxiety, chronic fatigue, hormonal issues, sleep issues, all that nasty stuff. Now, how do EMFs naturally work? Well, what happens is at night, the sun's electromagnetic radiation begins to decrease, and we have a stronger power effect from the Earth's magnetic field. This helps to facilitate sleep. Now, during the day, the opposite occurs. The sun's electromagnetic radiation increases in power, and the Earth's magnetic field diminishes, thus promoting wakefulness. Now, there was a wonderful study done by a scientist named Robert Becker, and what he did is he took a salamander, and beside the salamander he stuck a very powerful magnet. And what the magnet did is it actually reversed the polarity of the brain. Normally energy flows from the hindbrain, which is like positively charged, to the front of the brain, the frontal lobes, which is like the negative pole. And what happened was the strong magnet reversed the current of flow, which then caused the animal to go unconscious, asleep. Now, interestingly, this is the same way that anesthetics that knock you out cold, before like a surgery or operation. This is what they do in your brain. These high-level EMFs, you may or may not know, but how I got into all this work is I had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, addictions, and they all erupted while I was in university. Now, interestingly, what happened at the very same time was that I was living in a high-rise apartment on the 12th floor. And, mind you, this wasn't downtown Toronto, this wasn't downtown New York, but what happens in an apartment building in a downtown central area? Well, what we have is we have disconnection from the Earth, we're elevated, and what happens is the higher you go up from the planet, the higher you get up off the Earth, the higher the EMF frequencies concentrate. So I was getting a stronger dose of these man-made EMFs. Not only that, when you're locked in an apartment or concentrated in a city area, you have way more density of Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, computers, electronic devices that are constantly emitting radiation. So what happened was my natural brain tendencies, the natural anxiety, which I had been able to manage and cope with up to that point, the high-level EMF just sent my brain in complete overboard. And I had 3 straight panic attacks, I couldn't sleep, I'd be laying there in bed and my mind would just keep going. In fact, the more I tried to sleep, the more my mind kept running and going. It was really, really nasty. So let's say you're watching this and you live in downtown Toronto, downtown New York, downtown LA. Well, you probably have a beautiful place. You're not going to just pick up and leave. So what can you do to mitigate your risk? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 6 factors that you can do starting right here today to start implementing to mitigate your risk, to protect your brain from the harmful effects of EMF, and basically bring your brain into balance. Because that's what it's all about. Now, mind you, if you got an autistic son or daughter, or yourself, severe neurological issues you're dealing with, you probably just want to get out of the EMF hellhole and get out into nature, get out, into a more hospitable environment to you. So the first thing that you can do to minimize your risk, to want to replicate the natural magical conditions of nature, Because if you, like me, have slept out in nature, you sleep like a baby, you go to a cottage, you go to a cabin, you have the best sleep you had in years. So we want to replicate what nature does. So nature has the strong, powerful electromagnetic fields emitted by the earth that help to reverse the polarity of our brain and help us get to sleep. So we want to replicate this. And we need strong magnetic power to combat the high-level EMF to help our brain reverse its polarity and get into those deep stage sleep. And there's actually magnetic mattresses that you can put on your bed to help facilitate this deep sleep process. And there's even one great one, it's called Magnetico Sleep Mattress. So this is one option you can do. And the second option, extremely important, is cold thermogenesis. So what happens is during the day, we're excited, our neurons swell, they fire, our body's temperature rises, and this promotes wakefulness. Well, at night, the opposite's supposed to happen. Our brain's supposed to reduce, cool down, melatonin's released, cools the body, helps us get into deep sleep. So this is where, if you're too inflamed, if you're too oxidized, there's basically too much disorder in your body from all these waves bombarding your brain. You just think about going to a beach. If you see waves coming in all directions, it's going to kind of knock off and cancel those waves. And the same kind of thing's happening in the brain. So what you can do is start implementing cold thermogenesis to reduce and dissipate some of that entropy, some of that chaos. And trust me, believe me, you start implementing some cold baths, even if it's 20 minutes, you want it around 55 degrees Fahrenheit, you're gonna start sleeping better than ever before. And don't get me started about the athletic recovery. Now, number 3, what we have is we have our high DHA, high fat diet. DHA, you may have heard about the benefits of fish oil. DHA is a fundamental component of the cell membrane of neurons and basically all cells of the nervous system. And what DHA does is it helps to transmit signals. It basically gives the membranes the flexibility and fluidity to increase neuronal signaling. We have better signaling, we're going to have better mental function, better brain function. Now, interestingly, I've measured this with EEGs in my private practice, is DHA levels have been shown to increase alpha brainwaves. Now, alpha brainwaves are those beautiful sine wave looking symmetrical brainwaves that are basically associated with that meditative, zen, relaxed, calm, focused state. And do we want more alpha brainwaves? Darn right we want more alpha brainwaves. And kids with autism, what we see is we see very little to no alpha brainwaves. So they need more alpha brainwaves. And you probably need more alpha brainwaves too if you're dealing with anxiety, excessive worry, sleep problems. We want to get more alpha. And what happens is these EMFs, these high-level EMFs, drain our body and our brains of energy by chronically overstimulating them. And it depletes dopamine levels. And dopamine's really a synonym for energy balance. What raises dopamine levels? You guessed it, DHA. And then, in addition to the DHAs, where people are talking about ketogenic diets, high-fat diets, and their ability to enhance cognitive function, well, what are high-fat diets loaded in? They're loaded with all kinds of excessive electrons that can then help to power and raise our brain's energy levels. We got more energy, we can do more work, we're gonna have better cognitive function because this Ferrari brain that you got in your skull sure sucks up a lot of fuel. Then number 4, if you're out in the city, if you're in New York, you have beautiful Central Park. If you're in Toronto's lots of great parks. LA, there's parks everywhere, you can find them. And this is where you wanna get a daily dose of nature. And nature has a whole host, it's ambrosia for your brain. You have the fact the alpha rhythm from the earth. You have the greenery that's transmitting green frequencies, which is right in the middle of the band. We have the sounds of birds chirping, animals, music to our ears. Then you get the sunlight, the vitamin D to reduce inflammation. There's a host of incredible benefits, so you want to get a daily dose of nature. Trust me, nature is absolutely a game changer. Then number 5 is we want to embrace the natural elements, especially in the winter seasons. So if you're out, if you live in a northeastern city and you have a winter want to embrace the cold, embrace the winter. Leave your windows open at night, because one of the reasons why people don't sleep well is they're too hot. And remember, that's what our brain is trying to do. It's trying to reduce our temperature in the evening to facilitate sleep. So you want to embrace the natural elements. And if you live in a northern city where you get a winter, you get temperatures, in the 50s, below, or even the 60s are okay too, it's going to help you to sleep better. And also, there's an interesting effect called the Fournier effect. And this is where energy will flow from a place of from higher energy to lower energy. So this is where you can use things like hot tubs in winters beautifully, or even hot tubs and a nice cool little compress to dictate an altered energy flow. So what you do is you can put your body submerged in a hot tub. Right, so that's going to be more heat, more energy, while having your head exposed to the cool. And what's going to happen is via the Fournier effect, energy is going to flow from the lower parts of your body up to your cortex to stimulate more energy production. So you're going to basically hack and get more energy to your frontal lobes. And whenever you do that, it's going to enhance cognitive function. And then number 6, what we have are these super potent anti-inflammatory brain nutrition. Right? Whenever you're overexciting, oxidizing, inflaming cells, you're going to have a buildup of cellular inflammation. So we want to combat that. And there are some really magical super herbs that help to protect your brain and your brain gut. And that includes things like curcumin, the active extract and ingredient in turmeric, the healing ingredient. So you want to get on curcumin, especially if you had a concussion, anxiety, aren't sleeping well. Add in the curcumin. You want to add in the high DHA, both in terms of nutrition that you're getting from wild fish and seafood, as well as supplementation. And then thirdly, one of the great balancers for high EMF is magnesium. And what form of magnesium? Well, any form of magnesium is better than no magnesium. And then you want to do magnesium threonate specifically for the cerebral spinal fluid, and magnesium malate especially for the muscular system. So these are the Game Changers 6 tips that you can start implementing right here, right now, to protect your brain from the nasty #1 brain buster, and that is high-level EMF produced by all the electrification of our planet. And look, we love our cell phones, we love our computers, we love what the internet's allowed us to do, and all we need to do is to make sure we can keep enjoying those benefits without harming our brain. So this has been a lesson from Chris Wyllie, Mr. Brain Optimization, helping you to protect your brain and function at your very best. Thanks for joining me.